No. She's very good. Her seeker script. You know, what's that called?
Falls is the one on the corner of Montgomery.
Right, but it's not that. Is it the one down by Fireman's Park? What's that? Park Central Presbyterian,
Where they
right?
just had the graduation ceremony for the fire class?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's there.
It's
I
gotta be.
don't remember hearing though. And all of a sudden, I've been at Park Place like every day for the last 2 years. And every time I come out, like at noon or 5 o'clock, those are nice. Whoever's doing that.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Syracuse Planning Commission. We have a series of public hearings on the agenda for this evening. We will get to them in just a moment. Before we do that, however, we have housekeeping business to take care of in the form of action on the minutes of our January meeting. Those minutes have been distributed to the commission members in advance, and I would ask for a motion on those minutes at this time.
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes as they are presented. And along with my motion, I would just like to make a comment to recognize the work that the new staff is doing on improving the minutes that we have, that right now, I think, in my view at least, are much more thorough than the minutes we used to get. And they're vastly improved, and I think doing a very good job of recording what transpires at this meeting so that we can go back in previous meetings if we need to and really understand what happened in meetings. So I just make that recognition as part of my motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Thank you for the motion and the second.
Abstain, 'cause I wasn't here.
Okay, one abstention, noted for the record. And thanks for the praise. I concur with the improvement we've seen in the minutes. Very much appreciated. So we now move to the new business items, series of public hearings. For those unfamiliar with the process, we ask that as each application is announced, that the applicant or their representative come to the podium in the center of the room, provide their name and address for the record, and then a brief summary of the application involved. Following questions from the members of the Planning Commission, we will invite members of the public who wish to speak in favor of the application to do that. And then we will also follow that with an invitation to members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to the application to do that as well. Each time we ask those speaking either for or against the application to confine their comments to 3 minutes. And when comments are offered in opposition, we will encourage the applicant to return and address the comments made in opposition. So with that, we have our first application of this evening.
First item of new business is a major site plan review, MASPR-24-00, 501 West Fat Street. Applicant Joe Pirano from In Architects. This lies in the MX3 zone district.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Joe Pirano. I'm an architect with In Architects, and we're at 239 East Water Street, right over here, real close by. The Delavan Studio has been catering to artists for decades. There's no residential units in the building. The lease spaces are month to month, and average size is about 600 square feet. This building provides an important function to provide low-cost studio space for artists in the local area. There's really a need for this building, and since October, the owner has received 40 requests for spaces, so it's a place that is really needed. The new owner of the building since 2020 is Harold Kyle, who is here in the audience and can answer any questions that you may need or speak. Mr. Kyle's been working to bring this building up to code since he bought it in 2020, and he spent over $1 million in capital improvements. We just finished a project adding or changing over an old wood freight elevator to a passenger elevator and extending stairs that used to stop at the second floor. We extended, and these are fire-rated exit stairs, brought them all the way up to the fourth floor so we can have 2 exits out of the fourth floor in the one area. And that project is nearing completion. We just got inspections of the elevator and the stairs, and they've been approved. So soon we'll have a certificate that says that we can use those stairs. This work is, so we would really like to occupy the fourth floor, and we have a plan in right now to build out the fourth floor space, but because of question about occupancy, they felt that we should go through this process before we can get a certificate of occupancy for that floor. So that the floor was listed as a storage space, and we want to make it into an manufacturing artisan space for the artist studios, and so it's a change of occupancy of that floor. So that's kind of why we are here today, and we can go through the drawings, but most of the drawings kind of lay out the existing building and go through all of the different occupancies, most of it is artisan studios. We do have, in the first floor, if you go to the site plan, which I'm not sure which plan that is. I think you got to go back, Christian. Yeah. Yep. There it is. Yeah, so it's a large building. The right side is all 1 story, and that is actual manufacturing printing. That's boxcar press. That's one of the owner of the building's business. And the rest of the building is artisan studios. And one of our tenants there's a small assembly gallery space. So most of it is all of the same occupancy. So what we've gone through and looked at all the different areas and the occupancy types and made sure that we had enough parking with the reductions that were allowed for being close to a bus route, for being mixed use, and for bicycle racks. We were to reduce it down to where we were required to have 88 spaces with the reductions, and we now are providing 111 spaces. There's a small area that has an interior garage, and that's part of the calculations that we have. So we have 111 off-street parking spaces, and we're required to have 88, so we're pretty good with that.
Regarding this map, I was trying to understand, just for information purposes, you're adding 10 spaces because of the studios. Which are the ones that you're adding? How does that?
So we're not really adding any spaces. Okay. These are all existing spaces.
All right.
What we did was we did the calculations based on our reduction because of the new zoning allows it. So we were trying to prove that we're landlocked here. We got streets all around us. We really can't add any parking spaces to the area other than if going inside. But Harold's already done that and has a little indoor parking area. So so we're trying to maintain and to prove that that we have enough spaces. One of the things about artists are they come in at all hours of the day and night, and so the place is never filled because everyone's on a different schedule. So if you ever drive by there, you'll notice that there's tons of parking. There's always spaces. And that's because of everyone is on a different schedule. And a lot of people, have their artist studio there, but work at home, and they, like everybody now works from home. It's the same with artists. They come in, they like the artist culture there because everybody kind of feeds off each other, and there's a real artistic culture that's around in this building.
Thank
So,
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we do show 4 bike racks on the site plan. Yeah, so all of the parking was based on those areas and the occupancies that were developed from the new zoning, which is manufacturing artisan, and then manufacturing generic is the printing area, boxcar press. And then like I said, there was a little parking garage and assembly, but all the rest fit into those 4 categories. So, do you have any questions?
One more question, again, just for clarification. There's a comment in our notes about the adequacy of the domestic or fire service. I understand what fire service is. I'm not sure what domestic service is, but I'm just wondering if you could clarify that and what the issue is maybe, or what you're doing to address it.
Yeah, we actually have, actually Harold might want to come up, and we just talked about this, and he had actually made some phone calls, so he probably could speak to it better than I, but there's multiple services in the building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as I understand it, we need, the note indicated needed anti-backflow
Backflow
prevention there. We do have that on the standpipe that we installed as part of the stairway project, but there are sprinkler valves, and I believe the main water supply need that as well. I only found out about that today. I did reach out to Kim for clarification on how we could meet that requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we're gonna meet all the requirements, obviously, of the plumbing code.
Yeah, to clarify, that's our water engineering department, working with them on, those service deliveries. And so that's why that note's in there.
I'm Harold Kyle, 501 West Fayette Street, number 135. Thank you.
Thank you. That's what you were supposed to do that.
Other questions, excuse me, for the applicant?
Set?
One additional one. With your expansion of additional artist spaces, are you anticipating more or less the same mix of artists that you have now, or are you venturing into anything significantly different that might entail noise or other factors?
One of the reasons I bought the building is to retain the existing culture and type of artists. We're visual artists, it's painters, photographers, that like. Yeah. So it's the same type of tenant.
Thanks for the clarification.
Most of them are a little more digital. There's no more dark rooms at the foot, so that's one of the things that makes it better for storage of materials and things like that, because most of it's in a laptop.
Right. Okay, thank you. All good here. Okay. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium, provide your name, address, and comments.
Hi, my name is Rick Testito. A lot of people might know me. I own the gear factory down the street. I do something very similar to what Harold does with art studios, and I do more music studios and art studios and live-work apartments. And while I would, at first glance, might think I might be the competition, but as far as I've seen what Harold has done, he's a great individual. He runs a privately owned business that's been successful. He cares a lot about the artists in his building and their success. And we've known each other long enough. Like, if I have people that are looking for a space and I can't accommodate them, I pass them down his way, and he does likewise. He's had people, he's referred people to me. There's definitely a need for what they propose as far as new studios go. As far as the codes and fire safety and everything, the city will make sure all of that is okay. I promise you. But I just want to say he's a great guy. He runs a good business, and we should encourage people like him and help him out however we can, because he's going to help make the city a better place.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tommy Lincoln. I own a company called Stay Fresh. We're a design agency that handles websites, graphic design, art, photography for numerous places around Syracuse. We did all the art for Ben Walsh's campaign. We took care of Glazed Confused, Funkin' Waffles, Original Grain, Modern Malt. I could keep going for a while, but I'll stop there. I have a design agency that works out of the Delavan Center. We also have a small gallery where artists come, once a month, and we check out artists who are local, artists who are national. Everybody gets together. We pat each other on the back. We have a good time, and everybody takes off. At one point, I can remember when Syracuse University was looking at the Near West Side as the art district, and they were going to put a lot of money into that, and they decided not to do that. But guys like Rick and Harold are at each end of that district, and they're still holding it down and trying to push on with that vision of the Arts District of Syracuse. It's pretty important that places like this exist for creatives in our town because there's not a lot of places like this in town. I'm excited for the expansion at the Delavan Center. I'm excited for more stuff happening down at the Gear Factory, and I'm excited to see who steps up and comes in between the two to bring more arts and create a nice little district on the Near West Side. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Other individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application, please come forward. Is there anyone wishing to speak against the application? Please come to the podium. Doesn't appear as we have any additional speakers for this application. We can close public comment. I would turn to my colleagues, the zoning administrator and legal counsel, just to ask if there are additional data points or information that would be relevant on this application.
This is part of a full evaluation, looking at building and fire codes to land use on top of that. So part of this is triggering the major site plan review, but it's really comprehensive to everything else that they're doing in the building, and it puts it in a good position as if it expands or changes further down the road that we have a good starting point right now to evaluate what's in there, who's in there, what's the parking requirements. So that's why a lot of this is just bringing it up to date today.
Okay, great, thank you.
Jake, can I just ask you to speak to the county comments?
In regards to which aspect?
I believe that the county was supposed to provide comments or was anticipating making comments on the application. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think we have a county. County on this. Yeah, I don't think that's in this packet. Yeah.
You do on
believe-
Thursday, right?
yes, and
Right,
that- and
that's
that's
what I
when-
thought I read.
Yeah, that's
Right.
when I
Do you
think
know-
that's when we'll get it.
Do you know, Joe, are they just reviewing, did they have anything specific that they wanted to review?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, thanks. All right.
Seeker?
Right. Okay, sorry, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Seeker?
Then I would like to have the commission address the seeker questions and ask legal counsel to help us with that, please.
Sure. Just going to ask you a general question about the short EF Part 2 as to all the applications that come before you, and then I'll go into it specifically for this project. And the first question is everybody familiar with the questions of the short EAF Part 2?
Yes.
So just keep those in mind. Has everyone had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1 that's in your packet?
Yes.
Yes.
Does anyone believe that this project will have any moderate to large impacts under seeker?
No.
All right. Because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I move to establish the Planning Commission as the lead agency for purposes of seeker and make a negative seeker declaration.
Discussion on the seeker motion. If there's no discussion, then all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The seeker motion is approved, and we can proceed to action on the site plan review.
I move approval of the application as presented.
Second.
Discussion on the motion before us. If there's no discussion, then all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Then the site plan review for MASPR 24-00 is approved. And we move to our next site plan review.
Next item on the agenda is also a major site plan review, MASPR-24-01 for 210 Hamilton Street. Applicant Joe Cavender with QPK Design. This falls within the MX3 zone district as well.
Good evening. Yes, Joe Cavender with QPK Design, representing Steve Case, owner and developer of this parcel. Christian, would you mind scrolling to the rendered site plan? It has more of the pertinent information as a comprehensive plan. I'm sorry, what's that? That's the traffic control. It is rendered with the aerial to explain more of the context. So while that's pulled up, the site currently contains 3 vacant buildings, one of which was a community center, another a burn dairy, and the last a small cafe, totaling in excess of 9,500 square feet. The proposed redevelopment of this parcel includes a 1,600 square foot building with a drive-through and pickup-only function for the Starbucks cafe. The parking lot has 16 spaces, and the drive-through queuing area and pickup lane have an additional 29 linear feet of space to accommodate. Excuse me, it has enough linear space to accommodate 29 additional vehicles. The total site area is just shy of 20,000 square feet. Recognizing the development will disturb well over 10,000, we've been coordinating with the city engineering department to provide adequate stormwater pollution prevention and post-construction stormwater management facilities in the way of a subsurface infiltration chamber and discharging to the existing combined sanitary storm sewer on North Lowell at or below the minimum 0.5 CFS per acre per city requirements. The site is accessed on the inside corner of Hamilton and Lowell. There are 2 queuing lanes for ordering, which merge to a single lane for pickup. Pedestrian access is accommodated with coordination with city departments over the last several months with the streetscape enhancement planned on Lowell, West Genesee Street, and Hamilton. Our building, we recognize, is not to code standard 2-story for an MX3. However, with the extension screening and RTUs placement, it does appear as much more than a 1-story building. I understand that's a discussion for the zoning board, but just wanted to make you aware that we recognize we do need a variance and are on the agenda for that meeting. The materialistic character of the building includes wood paneling, glass facade, storefront facade, and flat black metal. IFAS will be the prominent finish on the sides and rear of the building with a large artistic rendering on the back side of the building that is visible from West Genesee Street. We are significantly reducing impervious and providing substantial green space to an otherwise completely impervious site. and feel it's a great enhancement for this corner and will serve as an uplift to the surrounding pavement character of the neighborhood. Sanitary, water, and storm, as well as electric, are all serviced from Northwell. We understand this street will be repaved, and we are in coordination with DPW to facilitate those connections prior to final pavement installation. Do you have any questions?
We will find out.
Two sort of quick questions. I guess, first of all, I was trying to tell him, in terms of the screening or the hedging between your property, Starbucks, and the fireplace, is that like a low hedge, or is that going to be high enough that visually it'll interrupt the visual plane? What are you planning for that?
Those plantings are about 3.5 feet tall.
So it's not a visual barrier?
No.
Okay.
And
I'm wondering, do you have any data on what you anticipate in terms of the traffic that are going to be ordering at the window versus people that will be parking and walking in to order?
I can defer and answer that after consulting corporate Starbucks leadership. This is a new prototype. They don't have many of these pickup only and drive-through only facilities. But I would imagine with ordering on mobile apps becoming more and more popular and swinging in and picking it up when it's ready, maybe a third, I would say, just based on my habit in airports and other urban areas.
You done, Barry?
Yep.
Sorry.
For now.
Okay. Sidewalks and curbs, new sidewalks, new curbs, I'm presuming, if I read this correctly, all the way around.
Yes.
However, I didn't read who's ultimately going to do those. I believe that your application states you're hoping that it's part of the city sidewalk replacement program for West Genesee Street?
That's correct. We're planning on timing this construction with the planned improvements on West Genesee, Lowell, and Hamilton.
Okay. Jake?
Yeah, so all that will have to be coordinated with our city engineering and DPW team, but if, development's working with those departments and, those folks within those departments that have those details and they can bring it together, then hopefully it aligns. And
We have a plan for West Genesee, I'm assuming, ultimately?
yes,
Yeah, okay.
Is the sidewalk plan part of or related to the Dig Once plan? Because I know you're trying to do a Dig Once with the roadway, et cetera. Is that?
that's a good question. I don't know if it's directly tied to that, and I know Mary Robeson, our city engineer, and other DPW staff are not here right now, but I can get clarification on that.
I also have another question, Joseph. The curb cuts, you have a double curb cut as an entry and a single as an egress, I'm assuming. It's how the plan reads. Do you know the total amount of curb cut being requested?
Curb cut distance would be 48 feet.
Total.
Well, excuse me, it's a one-way exit, so it would be 36 feet.
Right, okay. And so what are we having the double as? The double's going to be 24?
The double is a 24-foot width.
Okay. And my last question for the moment is the screening, I actually have two questions. The front triangle of green on West Genesee and Lowell, that corner, is that grass?
That is grass, and that is actually that was a request from city engineering to include a depressional area to capture stormwater prior to release to West Genesee.
Okay. And I'll defer to the city arborist and Parks Department, but I just would be curious if there is an ability to do a little bit more additional planning on that triangle to break up the visual of the cars exiting on West Genesee. But
Understood.
So related to that, I have a new planting plan here that we recently received that I will pass out.
Great minds think alike.
There are those of us that are
Thank you.
very much in favor of more tree canopy whenever possible. Well, it's not a code issue.
I'll
per
join
se,
you.
But, it helps.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's it for me for right now.
My only question goes along with Barry's question in regards to like the parking study, because obviously we know parking is going to have, excuse me, not parking, traffic. It's going to have a decent impact on the community as you have a, influx, considering the demand for what you guys are proposing. So I think that's a pretty important question to like have a more concise answer in and not just like speculation.
I would say are you concerned about the drive-through being full and queuing into the street? Is that your concern, or is it in?
That combined with just traffic in general, because it's going to be an uptick in traffic. So a traffic study, I think, would make it good. Give myself personally more information to like make it a more informed decision in regards to like the impact it would have on the neighborhood from a traffic standpoint.
Sure. I think with 29 queuing spaces available, coupled with the parking, that's quite a bit for a pickup only. I should say there is no formal kitchen or cooking facility as part of the building program. So it really is a coffee in and out, and I think that turnaround would be relatively quick.
I mean, that's like, I don't want to go back and forth with you, but we just want a traffic study that the data would tell more than just what you think.
No seating, right? Inside.
Correct.
Right.
Just pick up and drive through.
Additional questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? Please come to the podium. Provide your name and address for the record and your comments. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward to do so. Well, we don't seem to have any additional speakers for this application, so we'll pause here as we close public comment. I'll turn to the zoning administrator and our legal counsel to see if there is additional information pertinent to this application before the commission proceeds.
The only item was already brought up by the applicant, but just to further clarify that, this does fall in MX3. There is a story minimum requirement of 2. We have already scheduled it for a public hearing before the Board of Zoning Appeals for February 22nd for an area variance. So as you consider this, it would be conditioned upon that approval from that governing body.
Thank you. In that case, I think we can proceed to our seeker questions on this application before contemplating additional action. And I would ask legal counsel if she would be good enough to guide us through that.
Everyone had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1 contained in the packet items?
Yes.
Yes.
Does anyone believe this project will have any moderate to large impact on the seeker?
No.
Because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impact, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you.
I move to establish the Planning Commission as the lead agency for seeker and make a negative seeker declaration for this application.
Thank you both. Discussion on the seeker motion before us. If there's no discussion on that motion, then all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The seeker motion is approved, and we may proceed to consider action on this major site plan review application, MASPR 24-01.
I move approval of the application as presented with the condition that the zoning variance be approved by the BZA at their next scheduled meeting.
Second.
Discussion on the motion now before us. If there's no discussion on the motion, then we may vote. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed signify by saying no or nay. Any abstentions? So the site plan review for Hamilton Street, MASPR 24-01 is approved with the condition noted in the motion, and we move to our next site plan review this evening.
The next new business item on tonight's agenda is also a major site plan review, MASPR-24-02 for 1001 East Brighton Avenue. Applicant is Cade Kruger with DDS Companies. This lies within the CM Zone District.
Good evening. Christian, if you wouldn't mind flipping to the site plan sheet when you get a chance. Good evening, Cade Krieger, DDS Companies, 45 Hendricks Road, Rochester, New York. Also with me here tonight is Jeff Arnold representing Splash, and Adam Frasino and Terry Heiss with McFarland Johnson. We're going to discuss the revised traffic study that we got for the project. We're here tonight on behalf of Splash Car Wash, Inc. To present the council with additional information regarding the project since you last saw it, and to seek site plan approval for our proposed automatic car wash facility. As the Planning Commission may recall, a recommendation was given to the Common Council for special use permit in July of last year, and then in September, Common Council sent the application back to the CPC requesting a revised traffic study. In January of this year, we were made aware that the proposed use is now a permitted use under the new zoning code. So it was recommended that we pull our application for special use and come back to the Planning Commission for a major site plan approval, which is why we're here tonight. In the time since the council has last seen the project, we've completed the revised traffic study that was requested by the Common Council. That has been reviewed by the city DPW, and we've got confirmation from Neil Burke with DPW that they have no additional comments regarding traffic or safety. In addition, Splash paid for and completed 3 months of sanitary sewer monitoring in the vicinity. That was at the request of the town of Onondaga, who ultimately owns the 18-inch trunk sewer that runs through the property. So there was questions about capacity. So Splash undertook monitoring of the sanitary sewer system out there all the way down to Monticello Ave, which is downhill from the site. And we've gotten approval, a resolution from the town board, I should say, that says there is capacity in that system for the proposed car wash and that we can tie into it at this point. Lastly, we've been coordinating with the city engineering department extensively after we learned that there was planned improvements to this intersection at East Brighton Ave and East Seneca Turnpike. So there was planned construction in 2025 being undertaken by the city. So we're coordinating with the city on those improvements, and that informed the layout that you see here. So the entrance into the site used to be a little more perpendicular. We've changed the angle on that in coordination with the city to better align with East Seneca Turnpike across the road, and that'll act as the fourth leg of the intersection. Several mast arms are going to get removed and replaced as part of those improvements, and the entrance and exit of the car wash will now be signalized with new traffic lights. In addition, some revisions to the plan. I spoke about the entrance. We also adjusted the facade of the exit end of the tunnel, which is the west side on the plan. There was a new piece of code in the commercial code that said the primary facade needs to have 60% of the facade parallel to the property line. So we have adjusted that, and the zoning office has said they're okay with that and consider that compliant at this point. And then we also increased curb width from 6-inch wide curb to 8-inch wide curb. That was purely at the request of the developer Splash. It's better for their operations, safer, and lets vehicles know sooner that they've hit a curb and they're in the wrong spot. So all the curbing on the site has been increased to 8-inch curb. That's all I have at this point. I was going to turn it over to McFarland Johnson briefly just to give council an update on the traffic study.
Evening, everybody. My name's Terry Heiss. I'm an engineer with McFarland Johnson. Like Cade said, we are contracted by DDS to do a traffic study and to review any impacts that this car wash might have on the surrounding roadway networks and the study area intersections. The two intersections that were studied were the East Seneca Turnpike Lafayette Road intersection, and then immediately to the north of that, the East Seneca Turnpike East Brighton Avenue intersection. We collected data from both of those intersections in 2023 at the time the study was performed, and we found that traffic peaks between 7:30 and 8:30 a.m. in the morning and 4:30 and 5:30 in the evening. We created a trip distribution model for the traffic generated by the car wash. This is based on the turn movement counts that we collected and overall commuter traffic patterns on the East Brighton Avenue and East Seneca Turnpike corridors. In addition to trip distribution, the trip generation we got from the Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Manual, which is an industry standard. And based on that, using the generated rates, we have 50 additional trips during the morning peak hour and 78 additional trips during the evening peak hour. Because this is a service-related land use, we can also apply pass-by trips, which is basically vehicles that were already on the road utilizing the car wash instead of setting out specifically to use the car wash. Those trips are deducted from the overall, and based on that, we have a total of 27 trips in the morning and 42 trips in the evening. We did a capacity analysis using our Synchro software to determine the operating conditions for the existing no-build or background and build scenarios. Based on that capacity analysis, we didn't find any big impacts to the two study area intersections. There's going to be some small increases in delay just due to the additional traffic that's going to be generated by the car wash. But in conclusion, we don't think that there's going to be a problem with this car wash going on. If anybody has any questions, be happy to answer them.
I have two questions. First, I'd like to say I appreciate having the traffic study. I'm really glad we have it now. If we had had it 4 months ago, maybe we'd be able to get to this sooner. I also appreciate the fact that I know you guys have gone through the transition from the old zoning requirements to rezone, and also the transition from SOPCA to a city-based agency, so you get a double whammy there. And, I'm really impressed with the degree to which you're staying with it and addressing the issues and concerns. So my two questions are not to challenge your traffic study, but just so I better understand. Sure. There's two assumptions that were made in generating the data. The one assumption is about a 0.5% growth rate that was established by the DOT tube study. I'm just curious, like, when was that done? What? Because we've had, Syracuse right now is projecting higher growth rate than has been historically the case.
Right.
So I'm just curious about that, if you could elaborate on that a bit.
Yeah, so we do this for all of our traffic studies. Typically, we will compare 24-hour data that is counted when we do the counts at the intersections. They just put out a counter. It's the same way the DOT does it. Then we take that data and compare that number to historic DOT volumes in the area. So there was actually a DOT count station right up the road from this intersection. We looked at that, we divided it by the number of years that they had historic data for, and then that's how we come up with the 0.5% per year.
So the other question then is, another assumption is that during evening peak hours, most of the traffic is going to be coming from the south, not the north or the west.
Right.
So I'm just curious, and what's that assumption based on? Is that tube data or?
Yeah, again, that's going to be based on the count data that we collected, because we can see where a majority of cars are headed in what direction. And so it follows typical commuter patterns in that area.
So it's not that cars coming from the south?
Yeah, we're not making it up. It is based on some data.
Okay, thank you.
What was those 2 peak hours you said?
Yeah, the morning peak hour was 7:30 to 8:30. Evening peak hour was 4:30 to 5:30. So that's the 2 periods in the day when there's the most traffic on the road.
Further questions for the applicant? Okay, great, thank you very much.
Sure, thank you.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium, provide your name and address, comments. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward, provide your name,
Jim
address.
Pellecerino's 134 Lafayette Road. Couple things. We're still the traffic concerns. They may have done a survey, but we live there. We have 8 properties right past Kinney Drugs, and it's it's a lot busier than what they're saying. Another thing is water pressure. They said our water pressure would get better once they put in a new pump station, and it's not. They just replaced it with the same size pump. And left-hand turn out of the Taco Bell in the Intrepid Lane, if you're familiar with the area. If you're coming out of there from therapy, it's almost impossible. You got to go down, turn around, and come back up. So I guess that's it.
Thank you. Are there other individuals who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Please come to the podium, provide your name, address, and comments.
Kathy Shibley, 316 Monticello Drive North. I'm right down at the bottom of the hill of this project. At the last meeting that was canceled, the public hearing was canceled, I have some comments that I'm attaching to this, my comments today, but I wanted to focus on the traffic study. It really minimizes the growth we know is coming to that area. We've got Lafayette Country Club, big development. Mayor's spent a lot of time on that. Town of Onondaga has a housing project under development right now. They have a mixed-use proposal there. There's a lot of growth coming there. It's not going to be the same as it was before. So we've got a choke point where they are anticipating no growth or little growth when we have a lot, and I've lived there a long time, and I know it's been a sleepy corner of the city for a while. But it's going to change. They also say there's no impact from the new business I-81 interchange, and I don't think that's true. I think once that pattern becomes established, there's going to be a lot of traffic going up and down Brighton Avenue and coming out of the valley and going up East Seneca Turnpike and going down to Business 81. So I think there's going to be a big change, and I don't think anybody's paying attention to that. And this study totally ignores it. We may have another problem if Loretto closes its access that goes through Fillmore and the bridge that goes across to that interchange. That's another whole story, which would send more traffic down to Seneca Turnpike. But they're projecting service degradation from C to D and I think it's eastbound travel on Seneca Turnpike, which is where a lot of that traffic is coming. The service level at Lafayette Road is already D, and with the new development at Lafayette Country Club, it's going to be worse. Okay, so I appreciate the fact we have a traffic study now. I think we still have a major issue there. We've got a major choke point. I'm glad that the realignment has happened. I'm glad the city's paying some attention to it. We need the SMT study implemented for pedestrians. So I just want to bring up quickly what I brought up at my last submission. The internal site slopes, they don't show them on this plan. If you can put the grading up, it'd be nice. Can you put the grading up? On the north side of the site, they're way to the high end of capacity. You can't go any steeper. And then they're trying to plant on them. And you can't plant root balls on a steep slope like that. They're going to pop right out. They're going to fall right over into the neighbor's property.
30 seconds.
So they either ought to be looking at a wall there and a fence, which would probably be a lot more practical, than a slope like that. And I just mentioned that the way the site is planted in other areas does not pay attention to the slopes at all. And I don't want to go back to the internal slopes, but if you look at the internal slopes on that road, we're going to have a lot of issues with ice, snow, and maintenance anyway. But this particular north edge, I think, is, if I was in the city group that oversees these kind of things, I would be looking at that and saying, no, we can't do this. I mean, it's not going to work. So if anybody knows anything about planting, they ought to look at that whole situation. And they also have snow storage right on their plantings, and they have no definition of planting beds, so I don't know how any of that planting is going to survive. So it's nice to have it shown, but I don't think it's going to survive. So I urge you to continue to try to get this proposal. I don't know if it can work at this location, frankly, but in better shape, and I guess I don't think it can.
Thank you. Are there other individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the application? Please come to the podium, provide your name and address and your comments.
Hello. Thank you for having me. My name is Richard Handler. I live at 505 East Seneca Turnpike. I'm 6 houses down the hill, west of the intersection. My first specific question is, I don't read these blueprints very well. I can't blow them up enough on my computer. Is there anything to protect pedestrians crossing this signalized driveway? Do you have pedestrian crossing signs? Do you have a warning sign to them? Are there embedded, the bumpies embedded in the pavement so that blind people know they're crossing a signalized driveway? That's a specific question for the developer. Secondly, I disagree with the fact that they minimize the delay that they're putting in with their split timing. They say it's 20 seconds. 20 seconds when you're eastbound on Seneca Turnpike is a damn long time. 20 seconds puts the cars in the rush hour past my house down to the first bridge of 81. Okay, so I'm really concerned about how that affects the movement of traffic, because I disagree with their assessment of the delay. And again, I agree with Ms. Stribley about the projection for growth. I have a general question, if Mr. DeShaw could address it. You mentioned the 2025 buildup of that intersection. I would like to know, because this information is behind the curtain, so to speak. It's not out here where I can find it easily. I would like to know what is going on and what the intention is with that intersection, with that build-out. So if I could have those questions answered, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the application? Please come to the podium. If there are no further speakers, we would invite the applicant to return and address some of the comments that were made in opposition to the application.
Yeah, as far as landscaping, appreciate your comment there. Certainly, we'll take a closer look at the landscaping in relation to the grades. I will assure you that Splash isn't going to spend a lot of their money on plants that aren't going to live beyond the first year. So they'll be planted at the advice of, the landscaping company that puts them in. If we need to adjust a few to get out of steep slopes, we'll certainly do that before we get final plans. We'll keep the same number of plantings. We don't want to reduce that, obviously. So what we're trying to do is provide that screening to the neighboring properties. So we'll get those plants on slopes that'll certainly work. As far as the traffic-related question for pedestrians, with this being the fourth leg of the intersection improvement, it's all going to be a signalized light-protected intersection, so that'll include pedestrians. So I imagine they'll have pedestrian crosswalks and lights as part of that improvement. Yeah. So I know it's in preliminary planning right now. There's nothing finalized, but crosswalks will be part of that plan. As far as the larger traffic issue, I realize that this is a busy road, and this is the site that we're looking to develop. There's certainly more intense uses that could go here, and anything that develops here is going to have some impact on the local traffic. And I think McFarland Johnson did a good job of presenting that data and making everyone aware of what those impacts are going to be. Hopefully some of that can be mitigated with timing of the signals. So I'll leave that up to the traffic professionals, but that's all I have.
Quick question. Regarding the snow storage and the planting, can you speak to that and how you guys foresee that?
Yeah, we'll make sure that those don't overlap. May have been an oversight. We want to allow for the open spaces to be snow storage. We don't want to pile snow up on our landscaping, our shrubs and trees. That'll certainly have a negative effect on any plantings. So we'll take another look at that, make sure that we delineate the snow storage appropriately. If we got to move some landscaping out, we'll move it out. Not a big issue. Yeah.
And then I have a question for staff. Do we, or maybe you guys may know, is there a particular size requirement for snow storage? 10% of it? Okay, thank you. That's my last question.
Good evening. Jeff Arnold from Splash Car Wash. I just want to touch base on a couple of the points made here tonight. I think, first of all, with the snow we're getting anymore, I don't think we need any snow storage, but we do. It's very common that we truck snow off sites too. So if there's an abundance of snow and we have to move it, we'll move the snow. But I've been doing this business for 25, 26 years now. This is our over 30th location that we built, and Syracuse is a place that we always want to be. It's an area that I've grown up around here. My brother lives in the city of Syracuse. He's an engineer here in Syracuse for the VA hospital. It's just a part we try to find an area that is, will, will enable us to survive in business. So it's not something we can put out on a back road in the country that'd make it work. This is a great viable location, and I do think when people see us open the doors, you'll see everything's going to be done top quality, from the quality of the roofing to the quality of the building, the site. It'll be done right from A to Z. We don't do it any other way. I like to say we're always a good neighbor. I don't ever remember a neighbor complaint. That's even when we build right next to areas where there's housing much closer than this. I can't think of any disappointed neighbor, anybody that's ever been upset with us. So it's a manned site, means this isn't a car wash sitting out there unattended. We take pride in having our people out there cleaning them, taking care of them. We don't allow loud music being played out in the parking lot. So if it's an unmanned car wash, a typical like in-bay automatic car wash, self-serve car wash where somebody's cranking the volume of their stereo, that's a no with us. We don't allow garbage flying around. We keep control of it. We keep control of traffic. Our people are very well trained to make sure they run right. Because if they're not run right and they're not good, you're not going to come there. They're not going to attend to our business. We're not going to be in business. So,
just for clarification, the concerns that I think are pretty evident are not about how the business is ran. It's the impact it's going to have on the community regarding the traffic and so forth. So it's less of how you would. Well, me personally, I'm not concerned about how you run your business. We've never seen it before. It's just more, again, as I reiterate, about the impact it will have on the community and the traffic.
one of the greatest things is the traffic, periods of time when the traffic's busy at this intersection is our slowest times. We do almost no business in the morning. The majority of our business is done from 11 to 3:30 in the daytime. So, and especially at this time of year, when it starts getting, the sun starts going away, that's an off switch in our business. The on switch is the sun being out. We haven't seen much sun lately, so. But I don't think you're going to see any problems with traffic. This intersection can more than handle the traffic we're going to put in place.
Right, and then I think it may be for your partner or the gentleman behind you, but someone made a good question. They asked a good question regarding the walking crossing indicators for pedestrians. Could you speak to that question, please?
Yeah, I really can't speak in great detail about it. I think it's in preliminary planning at this point, but we'll be coordinating our improvements with the intersection improvements, and there certainly will be pedestrian protections.
Okay. Just, factoring the community members within that area are more elderly for the most part, and I think it's going to be important that they have proper signal on crossing, whether elderly or not, but I think we definitely have to consider them.
Yeah, and I think having it at an intersection with a light is actually going to help rather than just a driveway that was at the dead end of a three-way intersection where the sidewalk went through the driveway and there was nothing there to protect pedestrians. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. I'll pause at this moment, and as public comment has concluded, and ask legal counsel and staff if there are any additional points of information that would be useful for the commission to take into account as it proceeds from here.
I have none.
Yeah, just to add that this is a proposed development that is permitted by right within the new code. The applicant has met the requirement and the ask of the traffic impact study, as noted from the applicant and all the work done by McFarland Johnson, but also a reminder that this is also approved and in conjunction with our DPW transportation planners' comments and reviews of this, for quite some time now, that all of those conditions and requirements that he's asked for have been met up to this point. So right now, before you, this project conforms with all the zoning ordinance development standards within. It's permitted by right. And I'll also mention previously, first time around, I mentioned that SMTC is aware of this, right? They've done studies on it. Regardless of this development, moving in or not, it's been recognized that, improvements need to be made, and they're aware of that, and the state's aware of that, and that will come. But these evaluations are based on this specific development being added. We can't really account for something that's not applied for yet, or even in review for, before this governing body or before permitting with the city. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, you're welcome to be seated. You don't have to stand.
Thank you.
As we continue, no need for that. But as we do continue, our next step would be consideration of the seeker questions for the commission. And again, I would ask our legal counsel to guide us as we undertake that step.
Has everyone had a chance to review the short EF Part 1 contained in your packet for this project?
Yes.
Okay, does anyone believe this project will have any moderate to large impacts under seeker?
No.
No.
Okay, because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the Part 3 EAF accordingly.
Thank you.
I move to establish the Planning Commission as lead agency for seeker and make a negative seeker declaration.
Thank you both. Discussion on the seeker motion before us. If there's no discussion, we may proceed to a vote. Those who are in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. And are there any abstentions? The seeker motion then is approved, allowing the commission to proceed toward action on the major site plan review at this location, its application MASPR-24-02.
I move to approve the application as presented.
Second?
Discussion on the motion before us. If not, then all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? Then the site plan is approved. And we move to a new application. I think this is the referral, and we need to, but maybe it should be reintroduced first before we take the next step.
The next new business items on the agenda are companion projects. It's triggered by a lot alteration for two lots located at 2010 and 2014 South State Street, which are owned by the Land Bank or the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation. That application is R-23-80. But just to tee this up a little bit before the Land Bank presents that, what it creates is a split zone parcel. And the history of previous zoning and our previous zoning map left our, our zoning map with hundreds and hundreds of split zone parcels, and it makes it very difficult to then administer and enforce land use codes and other codes and trying to determine what can be put where. So we don't want that. So in conjunction with that lot alteration, and it's not a full-blown re-subdivision because it's less than 10,000 square feet. So those are administrative approvals, but it's combined and coming before you today with a zoning map amendment request because of what I just explained. We do not want to have creation of split zone parcels. It creates future problems and can make it difficult for redevelopment. But this specific case here, it necessitates that in our analysis. And so before you today, it's both of those applications that we're facilitating on behalf of the applicant before this body, which obviously would have to make a recommendation to the Common Council as the decision maker, a final decision body in this request. So a little bit different. This is the first time we're doing this under this ordinance, but it's something that sets up map maintenance, and it also aligns with, really what can be done on each parcel and project and future development.
Thank you for the background. So as their companion cases, each one is coming as a referral. There should be action by this body to accept or otherwise act upon each of the two referrals. I guess we could do them sequentially or together, but let's deal with that before we ask our presenter to outline their approval. So let's first look at R23-80. Is there a motion in terms of accepting the referral from the zoning administrator?
So moved. Second.
Discussion.
So just a matter of clarity, you don't have to essentially accept the referral for the lot alteration because that's an administrative matter. It's really on your agenda just to explain what's going on with the other, the rezone.
Correct. Why the map amendment is before you. So
It's not a re-subdivision because it doesn't meet the definition of a resub, so it's a lot alteration. Those are done administratively, so you do need to accept the referral on the zoning amendment, but not on the lot alteration.
Well, let's proceed with 2380, and then we'll move to the next one and address that, or we can accept the referral or act on the referral now.
Act on the referral for the other one now.
Okay. So is there a motion for acceptance of the referral on Z 2860?
Move to accept the petition.
Second.
And discussion? Not all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? So the matter is officially before us. Please.
That was easy. I'm Terry Luckett from the Syracuse Land Bank, 431 East Fayette Street. Here today requesting a re-subdivision of these two parcels. One of them, 2014, is a 2014 South State Street. It's in R3. It's a vacant lot. It's not buildable, though, because it's only 3,100 square feet. It has to be 3,500 in R3 to build a house. 2010 South State Street is the larger parcel. It has a vacant single-family house on it. It's been in the land bank's inventory for about a year. We're under contract with a buyer to purchase both properties. He wants the vacant lot as his side yard. He's gonna renovate the house, 2010, as his primary residence. We like to merge parcels together when we sell them because we don't want them to become, we want the taxpayer to get one tax bill, and we don't want them to become what we call orphaned, so that somebody sells the house and they forget that, oh, I also have, the vacant lot isn't really attached. It looks like it's attached, maybe it's fenced in. We have so many lots like that where that's happened, that the vacant lot, the house gets sold, the vacant lot becomes orphaned, is the word we use. And then it comes back into our inventory as a tax delinquent parcel. So we want to merge them together. So that stretch of South State Street is kind of a hodgepodge of R3 and R2. So we're requesting that the zone be changed to R2 and that we merge the two together.
Questions for the applicant?
Yeah, question. So you indicated that the owner is going to renovate the house? That's your understanding? Okay. So just, I was down looking at the property yesterday, and I noticed on the north side of the house, one of the windows that was boarded up, the boarded up portion, it looks like it's been broken, and there's an
Happens all the
open
time.
window.
Happens all the time. I'll let we try to catch those.
Yeah.
We have periodic inspectors go out and catch that kind of thing. I'll let them know it needs to be
Yeah, I just thought I'd
reboarded.
mention it because if the owner's going to renovate the house, that could create
Yeah,
some
we-
additional damage.
We want to catch that and reboard it if that happens.
Further questions?
2010 is R3,
R2.
R2. 2014 is R3.
Correct.
And Jake, or somebody, just refresh my memory. I believe it's a minimal difference between the two zones.
It is.
Yep.
The R3 is basically the same as the R2 zone district, but it's for small lots.
Okay. And the lot, the empty lot now is not a buildable lot. It's a non-conforming lot.
Correct. In R3, you have to have, I think, 3,500 square feet to build a single-family house.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions for the applicant? All set? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application? Please come to the podium, provide your name, address, and comments. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition, please come forward, provide your name, address, and comments. We don't appear to have any additional speakers on these. Yet I will pause and ask legal counsel and staff if there are.
Just one correction to the record. This is not a re-subdivision. As the applicant stated, it is technically a lot alteration. A lot alteration is the technical term when we're not increasing the number of lots. No reconfigured lot is in excess of 10,000 square feet. So she said this is resub. If it's a resub, you'd be hearing a resub, but this is a lot alteration, which is administratively what you're going to vote on is the rezoning. Just to clarify.
Thank you for the clarification. And any additional points such as that?
No, just clarifying that this would be a recommendation from this body to the Common Council to hear and decide on that map change.
Council will make the final determination on this matter. Okay, then we would proceed to our seeker questions.
We will not be doing seeker this, since it's a recommendation to Common Council, they will be lead
lead
agency
agency.
and
Of course.
vote the seeker.
Okay. Good. In that instance, if there is a motion for action on this zoning map amendment, it is Z 2860. We can consider a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Discussion on the motion before us? If not, there's no discussion, then all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? So that zoning map amendment recommendation is approved. It'll go to the Common Council for final disposition. And then the lot alteration happens.
That's an administrative approval.
And that will follow the council's determination on the zoning item that we just
That's correct.
made a recommendation for.
We
Yes.
don't want to approve the lot alteration when it's two
Until,
zones.
until
No
there's
action we're taking
finality
on that
with
right
the
now.
other. Okay. So you understood where we are, and the process isn't over because it goes to the council. Our next application, please.
Yes, the last item of new business tonight is a special use permit modification, SP-99-05M2 at 3919 South Salina Street. This falls within the CM Zone District. Just as a reminder, this is for the Dunkin' Donuts at that location on South Salina. So the original plan that was included and was approved by council back in the fall, there's a change in sign context, but I'll let the applicant explain it, and we can go from there.
Yeah, good evening, Don Radecki from Dunkin' Donuts. As he mentioned, is that we're using the current signs, and we're just changing the wording on it. The current sign says Dunkin' Donuts on it, and we're going to Dunkin's. Same thing with on the other side of the building, there's 3 signs on the building. The other side shows Dunkin' Donuts, and it's going to just go with a cup. So we're not extending the signs, we're not making it any larger, we're just changing the graphics on each of the signs on the building to update it to what it's currently in Dunkin' Land. The Dunkin' Donuts is perceived as donuts only, and now we've scaled to sandwiches, donuts, and drinks. So that's why we kind of abbreviate, just say Dunkin's on the building. So that's what we're here for, is to get the permission to change the signage on the building.
Questions?
Not for me.
Just a question for staff, or just a reflection for future. I mean, the only thing you're changing is the message. You're not changing illumination or anything else, and the total square footage is still within the original use permit, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct.
I'm just, great. I just think, this is something that if there's any way that the code could be changed so that this kind of thing doesn't have to come back to be used, just thought for future consideration. Because you're only changing the message.
Correct, Barry. That's the same thing we thought when we were starting this phase. We got approved, and then we found out we had to do a special permit to change the wording. And the signage is the same. We haven't changed any sizes of it, just the wording. And so to make a special trip back again in front of you guys to ask for that special permit so we could change the wording on the signage on the building.
Just for future consideration.
We like seeing you.
Yeah, that too.
I like to see you guys are really great. I mean, I've been to a lot of different towns and cities, and you guys are fantastic. You guys really collaborate, and I really appreciate that.
I assume there are no further questions there.
I mean, never mind. I'm gonna just keep it to myself.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium, provide your name and address, and then your comments. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Please come to the podium, provide your name and address, and your comments. We apparently have no additional speakers. We'll close public input and address our seeker questions with help from legal counsel.
Has everybody had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1 contained in your packet?
Yes.
Yes.
Does anyone believe this project will have any moderate to large impacts?
No.
No.
Because you don't believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you.
I move to establish the Planning Commission as the lead agency for purposes of seeker and make a negative seeker declaration.
Second.
Lots of seconds. Discussion on the seeker motion before us. If there's no further discussion, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? Our seeker motion is approved, and we may now proceed to action on the modification of the special use permit.
Motion to approve the special use permit.
Modification.
Modification, excuse me.
Second. Thank you both. Discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So the special use permit modification for SP 9905M2 is approved. And I believe we have one other item of business this evening.
That's correct. We have no old business, so moving on to other business, we have one 3-mile limit in the town of DeWitt, 3S-24-01. And the applicant is Nolan. Ooh, help me out here, Nolan. Is he here? No?
No.
Applicant's not here, so.
And just for the record, this has been reviewed and approved by the city engineer?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Any questions in this particular 3-mile limit case from the commission members? If not, is there a motion for action?
Move approval?
Second.
Discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The 3-mile limit case in the town of DeWitt is approved. We have no further business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A
Second.
Discussion, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? We are adjourned until next month.